This happened about a week ago around the same time, 2 a.m. Just a bit of background. I live in the UK and go to uni. I live in a fairly typical student house, though in a bad area. Anyway, it's the Easter holidays here and we get 2 weeks off. There's 7 of us in the house usually, but everyone's gone home for the holidays. I don't have a lot of family and I have a ridiculous amount of work to do, so I decided to stay here for Easter. Now, I don't care when I say this, but I hate being alone. Every little fucking noise at night still freaks me out, and I'm 22 fucking years old. Anyway, yesterday I set up camp in the living room, doing some work with headphones in. There's a door from the living room that leads to the backyard, really small yard with another door leading to a small alley. I go out for a smoke down the alley, which is creepy as fuck. I get back, but do you know that feeling of something's wrong here? I felt it. I was thinking I was just being paranoid, so I walked into the kitchen, got a drink. Then I definitely heard a fucking noise. I grab a knife out of the drawer. There's a fucking shadow near the empty space where the old washing machine was. I fucking nearly pissed myself. I don't know what to do. Don't know why I did, but I threw some kitchen towel at him. He fucking screamed, banged his head on the wood. I was standing there with a knife and this guy looked at me dead in the eyes. He had some crazy contact lenses in, like blood red ones. Just fucking made the situation even more terrifying. I just said, get the fuck out or I'll call the police, as I'm sitting there shaking with my knife in hand. He ran out through the door, into the alleyway and fucked off. I rang the police and told them about what had happened. Completely forgot about the washing machine space. Showed the police where he came in. There was a fucking bag with 3 knives, lighter fluid, and matches. Honestly, I have no idea what he intended to do, but I'm glad he didn't get the chance. I hadn't thought about this for a while until just now when an animal charity put an alert out on Facebook. So April last year, I thought about getting 2 rabbits to accompany my other 2. The 2 I had already were neutered females, so I was looking for neutered males, the rabbit's social hierarchy, lifelong buddies, etc. I was looking on Gumtree for an exercise pen to attach to the one we had already so that if we did get more bunnies, once bounded there'd be a bigger space for them when they weren't out during the day. So I found an advert for one, clicked it, and saw the owner was also putting her rabbits up for adoption. It had been one of those dumb things. Her kid daughter had been excited for Easter, Mom bought her some rabbits. Rabbits didn't want to be picked up. Kid made them nervous, eventually becomes bored of them because they're not like toy rabbits. It's an unfortunate common story. Anyway, I call them up, ask about the exercise pen and the rabbits, and we arranged to meet the next day when the seller's able to arrange to take the morning off work. The next day, she met me off the train in her town. More like a village really, it was relatively small, and we walked to her house. She was a really nice lady, and she had a Belfast accent. This is all happening just outside of Glasgow, by the way, and as an English immigrant to Scotland, it was just nice to hear a different accent. On the way, she started telling me about after I had called her. Her phone had said she had 15 missed calls. About a minute after we'd arranged to meet, her phone rang again, and a man with a thick Irish traveler accent had started talking about getting the rabbits from her without even saying hello. When he'd taken a minute to breathe, she explained that she already had someone coming to see them, and that if it didn't work out, she'd let them know. He sounded angry when she'd said that, and sworn before he hung up on her. Anyway, we get to her house. The exercise pen is exactly what I want, and then I meet the bunnies and fall in love with them. She asked me if I'd like to give them a new home, and I agree. Not just because of how lovely and sociable they were with me within a few minutes of meeting them, but because they were a bounded pair, and I couldn't stand the thought of them being separated at a shelter. I mean, it was just after Easter, and then in Christmas are the worst time for spaces and shelters. Because I was also taking the rabbits back with me, she was kind enough to drive me back to my flat with everything. Later on that day, around 6 p.m., I get a call from her. When she had dropped off me and the rabbits back at my flat, she had gone straight to work. When she had gotten home, she found her daughter being comforted by the babysitter. She thought she was probably just upset that the rabbits had gone. But no. Her daughter had answered a knock at the door while the babysitter was making dinner. A big guy in scruffy clothes had looked down at her and grinned and asked if she had any rabbits. She said she did have, but they moved house today and the guy's smile turned angry. He started shouting and he pounded his fist at the door, and that's when the babysitter came running. The babysitter said there was a white transit van parked outside and there were 2 other guys in there. The man's accent was Irish and distinctively traveler. Turns out that when she posted the ad for the exercise pen, it had been from her phone, and Gumtree automatically added her street location on the little map thing next to the username. She had posted a separate ad for the rabbits in the pets for sale section, which I hadn't seen, and that's how they'd found the house. It's a small street in a suburb, so even with a map location, it wasn't a very long street, and they could have easily knocked on the other 5 or 6 doors on the street. The babysitter had called the police after she forced the door shut. These guys are apparently always being spotted in small news agents calling people about dogs for sale. They'd been arrested before for organizing dog fights and stealing dogs and rabbits for people's gardens. It was only when I saw a charity on Facebook send out an alert about some Irish chaps in a corner shop holding the classifieds open and ringing about a dog near Perth that I remembered. I guess they move around a lot. Perth's quite far from Glasgow. To think there are such greedy, heartless people driving around, stealing and buying dogs to fight, and taking rabbits to give the dogs a taste for blood for the fight, to the point of shouting at a kid because they have no bait for their dogs on one of the most peaceful holidays of the year. That is creepy as hell.